considerations for the evidence needs of those making decisions are often not central in how we decide what kinds of research we should be doing. But there's certainly a disconnect between what we value and what is good evidence, as we would define it, and what a government decision maker at any level of government will take very seriously and will be consequential for them if they were making their decisions.
Talking about how much of what has happened to date has still been in this sort of transactional form, looking for specific projects, sort of project by project collaboration rather than partnership, and how limiting that is given the incentives of the various partners. And I think this comes out well in the report. Academics, especially at leading institutions, really have an incentive to look for something that is innovative and potentially risky because it's new and untried, because that maximizes your chances of doing something exciting to the academic world that would be published. Funders often have a particular set of projects or programs that they're particularly interested in, and so that's limiting. And then officials in governments, typically have a bunch of policies or interventions that they've already publicly committed to, for which they have political support. And it's very risky to engage in new evaluations of those kinds of things. So looking for matchmaking opportunities given those incentives on a project by project basis is very, very limiting in terms of how we get better evidence into policy making.
A lot of impact evaluations are not designed and have not been designed and of a quality that they necessarily should inform use. And I think this is sometimes maybe the elephant in the room. We should be careful about drawing conclusions and making recommendations unless we have cost information coming together with the estimates of effectiveness, unless we have good implementation information, preferably also outcome measurements over time, so we see how things are changing over time, and importantly also looking at unintended effects and subgroup analysis.
This is actually a general problem with all organizations, but it's better at funding good research than it is in disseminating and acting on that good research. We just haven't devoted as much attention to the sort of routine implementation of stuff that we think works relative to the discovery of new things that we think is working. It's much less interesting, much less sexy, and you're much less likely to get a really good academic to sort of sign up to doing that study.
Very serious low investment in evaluations on infrastructure, energy, works and transport and so on. And that's the real issue for us here as well, because that's where the budget is concentrated. That's where the national resources are prioritized. And so we are faced with an issue where the biggest areas that the budget preoccupies are not evaluated. And we are beginning to think more creatively on how we can actually start doing some evaluations in that area.
I feel like we're woefully unprepared right now when we're thinking now about all of these changes and kind of, social and economic justice and being able to think about more rights-based questions. We're really poorly set up to be able to evaluate those. I'm just not sure we've got the right tools to be able to do that.
And I understand the kind of passion young academics bring to the field. But then if they have to go forward in their academic career, it's all about publication. Now, if we do not set up an incentive structure for some of the best minds in our world to also engage with policy and the real lives of people, I'm not saying that academia and publications are important, but there has to be a more wider or a broader set of incentives so that people can really diversify and do that.
The limited supply of evidence translators to be doing rigorous research and engaging with researchers capable of doing rigorous research and working sort of on the front lines with large-scale implementers like governments. You need someone who sort of can be deep enough in both of those worlds and have the time to sort of be the bridge between them.
And I think the donors still suffer a little bit from that thinking, which is that they are there in the country for 3 or 4 years. They're going to write a report. They're going to say, I reached X amount of beneficiaries in my program, as opposed to thinking big, which is that did I change policy?